Production funding for Behind the Headlines is made possible in part by the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Memphis Mayor Jim Strickland tonight on Behind the Headlines. I'm Eric Barnes, publisher of the Memphis Daily News. Thanks for joining us. I am joined tonight by Memphis Mayor Jim Strickland. Thanks for being here again.
Thank you for having me.
Along with Bill Dries, senior reporter with the Memphis Daily News. So we got to start with the headline, with the crime, and particularly the homicide rate. A record year last year, a bad start in terms of numbers this year. What all can you do? What all are you doing now? 1 year and a month into the office?
Well, when I go out and talk to groups, I always try to tell them, if there's only two things you remember about what I say, know that we have a plan and that we're working it. Now, it is going to take time to get results. New Orleans had an all-out effort several years ago called NOLA for Life to reduce their homicide rate. They did it, but it took 3 or 4 years to see noticeable results. And then interestingly, last year their homicide rate grew like so many other cities. Our plan is basically 6 points, and we take up the whole show if I talk all in depth.
Run through them. It's heavy on people's minds.
It's more and smart policing. We need more police officers. Everyone knows that. Hopefully this year we're going to have a net increase for the first time in 4, 5, 6 years. I believe in community policing. I believe in data-driven Blue Crush, but we need more police. Number 2, stronger sentences for violent crimes. Last year we succeeded in the legislature on domestic violence. This year we're going to try to stiffen the penalties for felons with guns. If you have a felony, you're not supposed to have a gun. We want to up those penalties.
Is the legislature, we'll go through them all, but is the legislature open to that? I mean, it's they are.
Yes.
That's one area where they are willing to limit guns. Because a lot of critics say that they're a pretty pro-gun legislature.
Well, I spent the last 2 days in Nashville and there was no pushback on that bill.
Right.
Number 3, intervening in the lives of young people. We got to give young people something productive to do when they're not in school.
Right.
We've increased in our programming or community centers and libraries. For instance, in 2015, 5,400 teenagers used the Hooks Library for programming. Last year, my first year in office, 8,000.
Yeah.
So we increased them from 5,400 to 8,000.
Also on the youth, we've talked on recent shows, this new juvenile justice, kind of an intervention where they don't go down to the juvenile justice center, but there'll be a way to, if somebody's they're out after curfew, they've skipped school, they shouldn't go into, the theory is, into the full juvenile justice system, because then they're exposed to the juvenile justice system, and that's almost like some people would say almost a training ground. Is that started where you're handling some of these lower level offenses with juveniles differently?
Well, there's a huge cost to it.
Yeah.
Because you have to build another facility
Right.
other than juvenile court. And I'm not sure the county has the funds to do that. And when you go into the juvenile court system, it's a little misleading for non-lawyers because they're not all thrown in jail.
Okay.
They're issued a ticket and they're supposed to come down and talk to a counselor with their parents or guardian. So, when somebody says they're thrown in the juvenile
Sure.
court system, there's different levels.
Fair enough.
Economic development, workforce development. At any one time, we have 10 to 15,000 jobs in the Memphis area that go unfilled because people either don't know about it or they're not qualified for it. We're doing a good job on workforce development. We need to do an even better job of filling the pipeline, giving people skills. Not everyone's made for a 4-year degree college. Trade schools are great. TCATS, Tennessee College of Applied Technology, their best program, airport mechanics. You can graduate there in a year and a half, go work for FedEx and start off at $56,000 a year. That's pretty good for 22 years old. We got to get more people in the workforce development. We also are working on helping people who have records turn their life around. The city and the county partner on what used to be called Second Chance. It's the Office of Reentry. We work with people who want to get back into the system. In my first year, 2 of the greatest nights I had as mayor was going to those graduations where you see 40 or 50 adults, men and women, who have turned their life around, who are getting job training, and making a way for themselves. We also have helped people expunge their record. I raised $60,000 privately to help people expunge their record, and they're working with our Workforce Investment Network to get a job. And then
expungement, explain that real quickly. I mean, put your lawyer hat back on, but I mean, people, they've served their time, and it should be off their record, but the state or whoever charges money to get that stuff eliminated from the public record.
You can get your record expunged if it's a nonviolent offense and you haven't been arrested in 5 years. Well, there's all kinds of people who qualify for that. And there's a group of them who cannot afford the $450 court cost. When I was in Nashville this week, I talked to them. There are a couple bills to lower that fee. I'm all for it because if it costs $450, if you lower that fee, our $60,000 we've raised can go serve more people. So you can get a job or a better job if you don't have that offense on your record. There was some talk among the Shelby County delegation, maybe we ought to increase the convictions that can be expunged. Depending on what it is, I think that's a debate or something that really needs to look into.
And no, when we talk about expungement, we're not talking about murders or homicides. No. We're not talking about the really violent stuff. We're talking about lesser issues. Okay.
Right.
Was there last 6 points?
Oh, and education. Yeah. I mean, the city doesn't have direct involvement, but we've partnered in a group to try to increase the third grade reading level, which is currently at 32%. 5 years ago, it was 27%. We need that at 70, 80%. Think about how great Memphis would be if 80% of third graders could read at third grade level. They'd succeed in school, graduate, and poverty, crime, all would be taken care of.
And what all can the city do? I mean, the city you don't have direct control over the school system. It's a part of the county.
Like last year, we did a little small thing. We had in 8 of our community centers a reading program to help stop the summer slide. Yeah. So kids leave school in the spring, they don't read much over the summer, and the start of the school year, they spend several weeks, maybe a month, trying to catch up where they were. We're going to try to expand that to all our community centers. Our libraries also have a similar program.
All right, Bill.
Dorsey Hobson, who's the superintendent of Shelby County Schools, talked a bit about the crime problem because on that horrible weekend when we had 5 homicides during the space of it, 2 of the people killed were students in the school system. And he talked to the board this past week about possibly doing more, because whenever there is some kind of violent incident near a school, the first thing is, where were the borders? Where did it happen on school property or not? And he seemed to signal that let's try to go broader than that. Have you talked with him about that?
No, but somebody up in Nashville sponsoring a bill, I'm not 100% sure, I think it was Lee Harris shared a bill with me, or Touche Parkinson, I can't remember which, or maybe both, who said they want the school resource officers to have authority beyond the school boundaries, maybe the surrounding neighborhood. I think that's great. Now, frankly, I have not talked to our police director about it yet because I just learned about it this week. We need more help. We need more help from the state, the county, the schools. We're all on the same team. We want the same things. So I think I'm very interested in that.
The discussions that arise whenever things get worse like this, over time, do you think they have a cumulative effect? I mean, this is always uppermost in people's minds. But if we have this discussion enough, does it help to get us where we need to be?
About the crime?
Yes.
Absolutely. Because government, for no other reason, government alone cannot solve this problem. If people sitting at home think the Memphis Police Department on its own can solve and really drastically reduce crime all by themselves, it's not going to happen. We need people, which is why I had the call to action. We need people to mentor children. We need people to go into schools and help children learn to read, second graders. You can mentor a child for an hour a week. You can help a child learn to read for an hour a week. And that hour, the statistics show, make a huge difference in that young person's life. They're more likely to graduate high school, much more likely to succeed in life. We don't have the resources at City Hall. The schools don't have all that resources. We need the public to be involved.
So at your New Year's Eve prayer breakfast, former Mayor Harrington talked about this, and his goal, I mean, the number that he set was 10,000, but he admitted that even if it falls short of that, he still wants to try this, because the basic concept is get people galvanized enough to volunteer for certain efforts, and then instead of saying, go wherever you want to go with this, to have maybe 3 or 4 specific efforts that you channel them into. How is that going? And what do you think of that approach specifically, instead of saying, just go out there and find something to do?
Well, it's very similar to what we did. So I understand that. You got to help people. I get people all the time say, what can I do to help? Well, that's why we had 3 identifiable things: mentoring, reading to a child, and the other one was adopt a block, help clean up the block around your house, work, or place of worship. I think Mayor Harrington's idea of getting 10,000 or 300, how many he can get is more than we have now volunteering. I think it's a great idea. And I think giving them direction is perfect, because we need, I mean, if we really focus on young people and the schools and others help them learn to read, and then we as a city and the community help children after school, giving them something productive to do until they fall asleep. If you quality education, quality after school programming, a quality kid.
So we'll move on from there. I mean, like you said, I mean, we can talk about the whole show, but I mean, I think we'll move on. Although again, it's heavy on people's minds right now.
And it's heavy on my mind.
Yeah.
Every day, I look at the crime statistics. I feel the pain. I look at how many police officers we have, and we're down to 1,900, and I've forgotten the exact number, but it's
I think it was 1,960 the last time.
Maybe 58 now.
And down from a high of 2,400.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that's why this March, I'll end on a good note. This March we have a class starting. I think we'll get at least 100 people in there. We'll have one in the fall. I think we'll get 100 people there, and hopefully more, that we can start having a net increase of police officers.
All right. Nationally, but it's also obviously a local and state level story, has been the Trump administration and the executive order about a travel ban, refugee ban from 7 predominantly Muslim countries. Your reaction to that, and what have you heard from constituents, from the business community, and so on?
Well, constituents are mixed, as we saw in this country. There are some who fully support the president. There are some who very much oppose him. So Memphis is no different than any other part of the country. And when I made a comment that we are a welcoming city and I celebrate our diversity in Memphis, which I really do, I got heard from both sides. What's interesting, the 24 hours or 26 hours before that was done,
yeah.
I went to celebrate the Chinese New Year with the Memphis Greater Chinese Association. I went to an Hispanic Assembly of God church. I spoke to a United Methodist Sunday School, which was mostly white senior citizens. And we had one of our town hall meetings with young people, which was mostly African American youth. So it was as diverse a 24 hours as I've had as mayor. And it was all coinciding with that. They were all great groups. They all want Memphis to be better. I want to focus on what we have in common, which is making Memphis better. I don't care if you voted for Trump or Clinton. You can mentor a child. You can help a child read.
There's certainly a lot of speculation. I mean, this refugee ban, the executive order, and just the speed at which these executive orders are coming out, and they've followed what he campaigned on. What will happen with illegal immigrants? And I think you had a statement when he was campaigning, but this whole idea of what is the local role, if there's some sort of executive order or some sort of act of Congress to crack down on undocumented or illegal immigrants, however you want to say it, what's the appropriate role for the city and the police department in that sort of crackdown if it comes?
I've learned a lot in the last 7 days on this issue. And the police department even had a policy I didn't know about until the last week. There's 2 areas where I think the city would have interaction. Number one, do you want local police to knock on doors and say, let me see your papers, or every interaction they have with a public citizen, let me see that you're a citizen.
Pulled over for a stoplight or a speeding ticket or
Or
anything.
just you interact on the street. Our Memphis Police Department has 2 million interactions with the public every year, just to put that in perspective.
And right now they do not check.
We do not check for papers,
Okay.
and I really hope, to date, no one's called for us to do that. And I would really advocate against that. Our police officers, we don't have enough police officers to do what we're supposed to do. So I don't want forcing the law here locally. Now, the second possibility of interaction with the feds on immigration is once somebody's arrested and taken to jail.
Okay.
And this is what I'm trying to nail down. Somehow, when people are arrested and they're not a citizen, and that information is communicated to the federal government. Sitting here today, I cannot tell you if that's the Memphis Police Department or the sheriff. I don't know. We're trying to nail this down. That's the way it was under the Obama administration. And then the Obama administration, the feds could come pick up that person if they wanted. How often they did that, I don't have that information now either. To date, the Trump administration has not asked us to do anything differently that I know of.
And one last thing, because someone asked me this, and I think it was off your comment about being a welcoming city. It gets into the whole thing of what is a sanctuary city. Is that an official thing that you have declared as mayor, or is that just a kind of an approach that people talk about?
First of all, there's no organization out there who officially confers sanctuary city on anyone. And it's defined differently by the eye of the beholder. What I've outlined to you is what we do.
Right.
I've never declared us to be a sanctuary city. Mayor Wharton never declared us to be a sanctuary city. No mayor in Tennessee has declared their city to be a sanctuary city. What I've laid out to you is what we do and what our policies are. I don't even know if that qualifies to be a sanctuary city.
One more question on this. We can move on. The federal funds. I mean, that's what advocates for crackdown on immigration, undocumented illegal immigration, are saying. Well, federal money flows through to cities, and if these cities don't have policies that are aggressive and checking documentation, they're going to withhold federal funds. Does that worry you?
Not at this point, because what I've outlined to you, I don't think is contrary to what the Obama or the Trump administration wanted us to do. I think the sheriff in Austin, Texas, just got involved in a controversy because she is no longer sharing all that information with the federal government once they're arrested. I think that's where the fight is.
Yeah, fair enough. 10 minutes, Bill.
Okay, and in the original incarnation of the travel order, it involved people who are here legally who have green cards in terms of the travel ban. I think it's since been modified, but have you heard from our research institutions like St. Jude, FedEx, other businesses that are involved in this? Have you heard any concerns from them about what this might do?
No, but to be honest with you, I don't expect to hear anything because I'm not in Congress. I'm not a U.S. Senator. I would think Congressman Cohen, Congressman Kustoff, Senator Alexander, Senator Corker would be the ones they address that to. It's just not in my wheelhouse.
Mm-hmm. We'll move on to things that are in your wheelhouse. The plans at St. Jude, the Pinch District. So St. Jude is, it's still just such a huge number, $1 billion plus in capital investment that they want on their campus and in the whole Pinch District area. A huge increase in staff and spending. There's a part of that with the city putting some money in, the state's putting some money in. Talk about the city's role and the vision that you all with St. Jude are putting together for the Pinch District.
This is really exciting, I think, and it's really kind of led by St. Jude, which has been so great to Memphis for so long. They are expanding 1,800 new jobs, really well-paying jobs, and they may grow their footprint a bit down there. But you have St. Jude on one side, Bass Pro, which is succeeding on the other. The Pinch is not a very big area. It's probably the oldest area in Memphis, I think. I think you're going to see that area just explode with growth, kind of like Overton Square has. And what I think Cleveland is going to happen after Crosstown Concourse opens up. I know it's open, but really fully opens up. So I think that area is going to really pop. And just a block away, even though some people think of it as so far away because you have an interstate between it, is our convention center. It's really not that far away. Our convention center, Memphis has always kind of been a mid-tier convention city. Our facility is lower tier. It is antiquated. It's not very nice compared to other facilities. So my last year on the council, we voted for a hotel motel tax increase to really make it nicer. We'd like to even do maybe more than that if we could afford it. We're looking at.
But Kevin Kane he was on the show 2 months ago, and he's not advocating for $1 billion or $500 million, and you're not.
No, I don't think we could never.
We're talking
afford
something in the tens of millions.
Yeah, and not to use our operating budget, our capital improvement budget. We cannot use. You may have heard me say being brilliant at the basics once or twice.
Once or twice.
And so we use those budgets for police, fire, roads. We're not doing a good enough job in those right now. We can't siphon that money off for a convention center. So we have to use TDZ money or TIF money, which is extra money that the state allows us to capture.
Money that would already be spent here, but instead of going to the state, staying in the state, stays with us.
Yes, stays with us. That's really exactly it. It's the state sales tax.
Right.
It's the state portion of the sales tax. So let's try to use that as much as we can, and then
the TDZ area, we'll put a map up so people know what we're talking about.
Sure.
It encompasses a bunch of downtown. What you're talking about, that we see from the Bass Pro up towards the left corner there. But what you're talking about is expanding it. How does that expansion happen, and what kind of money will that generate?
All right, let me start by just explaining to people. This is how the city paid for the improvements to Bass Pro. The pyramid, to turn it into Bass Pro.
Right.
The money that we put into that is being paid by the sales taxes generated in this area. So it's not coming out of the police budget, fire budget, paving budget. All right. Then it's been so successful, we thought we can use some of that money to help the infrastructure in the pinch to help St. Jude grow, which we've committed to. There's even more money that we could capture. We have a great riverfront, one of the best riverfronts in the country, but not enough people come down to it. And Mud Island is stuck in 1981 when it was open. Not enough people go to it. So if we could capture some of these sales tax dollars and help build something on the riverfront and on Mud Island to increase the number of people coming to it, that would be a home run. And that's what we just kicked off this effort that we'll have back in about 2 or 3 months.
Okay, Bill.
At the same time, you're also looking at an expansion of the TIF, which I believe involves property tax
Yes.
revenue, and you've taken some steps and you've talked about taking some steps to reconstitute or reinvigorate the Community Redevelopment Agency. So if you get a TIF expansion and the CRA governs the use of that additional revenue, that's basically going to go toward affordable housing in the corridor between St. Jude and Le Bonheur, going east as opposed to going west.
Right. The success that we have seen in the pinch at St. Jude, we want to build on that and kind of expand on it. And affordable housing is one of the pieces to that. Because as we grow, we can't just make it for rich people. You got to include everyone in this growth and this success. And that's one of the things. Infrastructure is another thing. Improve these neighborhoods. Midtown and downtown are doing pretty well. Let's try to expand where we're succeeding and where we're growing. And that actually gets us closer to the new Chicago area.
And Legends Park.
And we'd like to improve those areas too. So let's take like on Cleveland Avenue. I think once Crosstown Concourse opens, Cleveland's going to do well, and then we try to build on that to expand it into North Memphis.
Just a couple minutes left, so I'm going to give you not enough time to answer a few more questions, so I warn you in advance. The riverfront, you've set a task force up, a whole bunch of people. It does seem like there have been a lot of task force for the riverfront. Do we need another one to get this done?
Well, yes, because I think this possible TDZ
yes.
money opens up a world of possibilities that we didn't have before. Now, I did want to make The council has to approve the TDZ, and the state has to approve the TDZ. So we still have a couple more steps. But that opens up the world of possibilities that we didn't have before.
Any regrets about how things played out with Andy Cates, who came forward with a proposal for the Mud Island and then got kind of frustrated with you and was, didn't feel like he was getting the kind of responses he wanted? Some people thought, yeah, let him go. The Cates family's done great things, including, Crosstown and so on. Any regrets about how that played out?
The only regret I have is I have a lot of respect for Andy, and he's done a lot for Memphis, and I didn't want him to feel this was a personal slight. But the reason we had to do what we did was this TDZ money changes up the world of possibilities. It could be millions of dollars that we would not have had otherwise. If there's a future partnership with him on any matter, the Cates, he and his brother and father and mother have meant so much to Memphis.
Yeah. Again, not enough time, but a minute left. De-annexation, what happens next?
This week, the local task force will meet. We as an administration will make a proposal to them of 6 or 7 neighborhoods that have the potential to be de-annexed. And we looked at 3 factors: where it's dense. If there's not density, suburban. If it's dense, city. Where it's hard for us to serve, and what areas have long-term asked to be de-annexed.
All right. Again, I didn't give you enough time on that, but I do appreciate the quick response here. We'll have you back. Thanks for being here. Thank you, Bill. And thank you for joining us. Join us again next week.